Some cats never come when you call them, but they still know that name was theirs. You see it in the pause, the glance, the way they slow down just for a second. Let me ask you, how many years have you lived with cats? And how many names still echo somewhere in the quiet? Because when you name a cat, you're naming something in yourself too. Something you needed back then, something only they understood. And the first name on this list? It still remembers who you were. Number 10. Hazel. For the cats who don't need to ask to be needed. There's a moment some cat owners never forget. Coming home after a long day, not to a meow or a purr, but to a quiet presence waiting in the doorway. No fanfare, just there. Hazel is for that kind of cat. The one who never forces affection, but never leaves your side. Maybe she's never sat on your lap, but you notice how she sleeps near the chair you always use, how she moves only after you do. Hazel is memory without noise. She remembers the rooms people no longer enter, the drawers you rarely open, and somehow she waits at the edges of things, not to pull you back, but to remind you there's still life there. Naming a cat, Hazel is naming steadiness, it's naming grace, it's the nod you give to the quiet companion who never asked but always knew. But if Hazel holds the past, then the next one chases what's just out of reach, like sunlight on the wall. Number 9. Milo. For the ones who insist on joy, even when it's inconvenient, some cats are natural interrupters, in the best way. You're trying to fold laundry, and suddenly there's a tail in the middle of it. You're reading a newspaper, and here comes a paw pressing firmly into the headline. Milo doesn't wait for your schedule. He writes his own, and yet there's something deeply healing in that disruption, like someone reminding you that your world isn't all tasks and clocks. Milo is the kind of cat who teaches you to be playful again, not in grand, childlike ways, but in small rebellions. 5 minutes longer on the floor, one more game of chase the string, a belly laugh you didn't expect. To name a cat Milo is to name the spark you thought you'd lost. He doesn't just share your home, he reclaims it, room by room, smile by smile. And then, there are cats who don't need to fill space or break silence. They just need to be near it, carefully, quietly, completely. Number 8. Silas. For the watchers, the listeners, the almost human ones, Silas doesn't announce himself. He appears in doorways, near windows, at the edge of the sofa when the news is on and your jaw has tightened. You don't tell Silas what's wrong. He's already understood it. There's an uncanny weight to his presence, like he's storing something for you, not judgment, but notice. His gaze doesn't beg, it reflects, and that reflection can be startling. Some cats climb your shoulders. Silas climbs into your awareness, slowly, without asking, without sound. And when he finally rests near your feet, you feel a calm that doesn't come from anything he did, but simply because he stayed. Naming a cat. Silas is naming a kind of knowing, not logic, not instinct, but something gentler, the kind of knowing that keeps watch even when you're not watching. And if Silas is the one who understands your silence, the next name comes from the cat who slips through it, like a shadow with something to say. Number 7. Runa. When she walks through the room like she's seen it before you did, it's not just the way she walks. It's the way she seems to know what will happen before it does. Runa doesn't enter a space, she inhabits it. You'll find her sitting on your newspaper before you've reached for it, resting in the exact square of sunlight you noticed only seconds earlier, and somehow her presence doesn't interrupt. It aligns. She doesn't follow you around the house, she shows up just where you were about to be. Cats like Runa aren't mystical, but they make you reconsider how well you know your own patterns. There's something ancient in her timing, not old, not tired, intentional. Every blink feels like punctuation, every pause deliberate. But don't mistake her quiet for detachment. She sees you. In fact, she probably saw through you the first week she arrived. Runa teaches you to slow down, not because she asks, but because watching her feels like remembering how. She doesn't fill silence, she frames it. To name a cat Runa is to admit, you're not always the one guiding the connection. Sometimes they're the one gently nudging it forward, with a glance, a breath, or the simple fact of being there when you didn't realize you needed them. Some names arrive with noise and play. These come in like weather, quiet, undeniable, and entirely their own. Number 6. Jinx. When they unravel your day and somehow fix your spirit, you tell yourself the cabinet doors were shut. You know the closet was closed. And yet, there they are, tucked into the laundry you just folded, looking up like this was exactly where they were meant to be. Jinx is the kind of cat that doesn't obey rules. They expose them. The rules you didn't realize you had until you're laughing while sweeping glass off the kitchen floor. He doesn't come when called, but he comes when you're frustrated. Not to fix it, but to knock over your pen, making sure you stop taking things so seriously. There's something oddly freeing about living with a cat who has no interest in being managed. You start to loosen up too. He reminds you that life doesn't need to be so tightly held, that socks on the floor are fair game, and dignity can wait until after the zoomies. Naming a cat Jinx isn't about chaos. It's about giving that spark a place to belong. Not every cat fits neatly into your rhythm. Some cats teach you a better one, and then there's the one who doesn't disrupt your pace, but slows it. Not out of laziness, but out of thought. Number 5. Bishop. When every glance feels like a quiet evaluation, he doesn't rush. He doesn't dart. Bishop walks like he's attending a meeting you weren't invited to, but you still tidy up for it. There's a refinement in him, not snobbish, just aware. A kind of emotional posture you'd expect from someone who's read your moods more carefully than you have. Bishop watches from the chair in the corner, tail tucked just so, as if he's measuring your decisions by how many times you sigh. He waits, not to pounce, but to observe. If you try to coax him too soon, he'll blink, slowly, then return to watching the birds instead. But then one day, he sits beside you, leans ever so slightly into your arm, and without saying it, he's let you in. There's no fanfare, no moment of triumph, just a shared quiet, the kind that says, we're past the testing phase now. Calling a cat Bishop isn't about status, it's about respect for his space, for his mind, for the way he chooses connection like it's a decision, not an accident. Some cats challenge your patience, others elevate it, but the next ones, they carry something else entirely, where they came from and what they carry into the room long before you speak. Number 4. Ash. When your cat arrives carrying stories, you'll never fully know. You didn't name him right away. There was a kind of distance in the way he looked at the world, as if naming him too soon might break something fragile. He showed up thin, weathered, and silent, not hiding, not begging, just present, like someone standing at the edge of a room unsure if they're allowed in. It wasn't fear that kept him still, it was history. Attention wasn't something he sought. If anything, he'd pause when offered it, a cautious glance, a moment's hesitation, then, maybe, a slow re-too, or into the food bowl. Certain sounds made him freeze, the clatter of dropped silverware, boots near the door, not enough to send him running, but enough to stir something underneath. Even his rest carried memory. He didn't sprawl. He folded himself into corners, into spaces that felt safe, as if the shape of rest had once meant survival. Some cats climb into your lap by day 3. Ash hovered near for weeks, and then one night, without prompting, he curled up at the edge of your bed, quiet, still, unannounced. You didn't reach for him, you just let the moment exist, because moments like that aren't given. They're allowed. Ash carries something he won't explain, a chapter you'll never read, but one you'll feel in every cautious step, every sideways glance. What changed him, you'll never know. But what changes you, that you'll notice. Ash isn't a name about loss or damage. It's about resilience, a quiet tribute to what remains after the burning stops. You don't name his past. You name his choice to stay, despite it. And after those who carry weight so deeply, it's a quiet kind of joy to meet the cat who arrives more like a feeling than a memory, soft, melodic, and exactly where she needs to be. Number 3. Lyra. When everything about her feels like a song you used to know, there's no sound when she enters the room, but somehow you feel it. Like a melody returning just before the lyrics begin, the kind of presence you notice without understanding why. You glance toward the window and there she is, perfectly still in a patch of sun, her breathing slow and even, like she's syncing with the day. Nothing about her demands attention, yet your mind always follows. Not one to cry at the door or chase shadows, Lyra exists in subtler ways. A flick of the ear at the right moment, a glance timed perfectly to your hesitation. It's never loud, but always timed to matter. Sometimes she rests on the shelf beside your desk, eyes half closed while you're lost in thought. That stillness does something to you. It slows your shoulders, eases the way you breathe. Even the way she curls beside you at night feels intentional. No circling or fuss, just trust and presence. You don't need to speak, you just need to be. To name her Lyra is to acknowledge that rhythm matters, that quiet matters, that some bonds are built not with noise, but with timing. It's not that she fits into your life, it's that she makes the empty spaces feel less empty. And some cats, like Lyra, bring harmony. But the ones that come next, they bring something even rarer: belonging. Number 2. Eli. When you realize you were never really alone, there's a kind of cat who doesn't ask questions. They meet you at the door, not with urgency, but with expectation, like your arrival was simply the next beat in a rhythm they've already memorized. Eli isn't the one who climbs the curtains or knocks over glasses. He's the one who waits in the hallway, just out of view, because he knows you'll be there. Some days you forget to say his name. You mutter it over your shoulder or under your breath, but he hears it, and more importantly, he answers in his own way. He won't always jump into your lap, but he'll be 3 steps behind you as you move through the house, not demanding, just present. And the older you both get, the more that presence matters. There's no spectacle to Eli's affection, just steady companionship, quiet routines, mornings that begin with the same gaze across the kitchen floor, evenings with the same weight pressed gently against your shin. Eli is a name you give not because he dazzles you, but because he anchors you. When he's there, the house feels like it remembers you, and when he's not, something echoes a little louder. But where Eli holds space, the next name arrives like a thread of breath in winter, fragile, unseen, and somehow life-giving. Number 1. Wren. When they don't rescue you, but remind you to come back to yourself, she wasn't the cat you meant to keep. Maybe she was found on the porch one morning, or left behind by someone who never came back. You told yourself it was temporary, just until she healed, just until someone else stepped in. But she stayed, and more importantly, so did you. Wren isn't loud or obvious. She moves through the house like a thought you've almost forgotten, only to find it again when you need it most. When you're lost in your head, she finds the room you're in, sits nearby, not watching, not interfering, just reminding you, there's still warmth here, there's still air to breathe. There's something about her stillness that recenters things. She doesn't fix what's wrong, she just helps you remember what's right. Naming her Wren feels less like claiming and more like thanking. For the mornings you opened the blinds again, for the quiet meals you finally sat through, for the comfort of not having to speak in order to be understood. Wren is a small name, but it carries the weight of return. She didn't save you, she gave you a reason to keep showing up. And when you say their name out loud, on some quiet morning long after the noise has faded, you'll know they were never just pets. They were part of the reason you made it this far. Turns out, names carry more than sound. They carry the life you've lived together. If even one felt familiar, drop it in the comments. And hey, hit subscribe. Your cat would have already done it if they weren't busy blinking slowly and judging your snack choices.